There it is.
We're here.
Yay, we're live. Awesome. And welcome to the Teachers Pep Rally. We've got the one, the only Coach Donnie Campbell coming back to visit us. I was trying to do the math, which as a math teacher, you're probably gonna laugh at this. Is it 36 plus years of experience in education for you?
This is my 38th.
Wow.
You're just trying to be nice. You looked at me you used to look at me right now. That guy's got to been teaching 100 years.
No way. I would never say that to you. But
okay, you're just being nice.
Like that is experience that I want to hear more about. And I know it's not just about teaching math with you. So we're going to get into that tonight. Also, you have experience as a basketball coach. And I don't even know, are you still doing coaching or has some things maybe changed?
I'm not, but I'm doing a lot of consulting. I'll have people call me and want me to. I'm a big, one of my mentors, and I've had some great ones, was Bob Knight. And a lot of people don't know who Bob Knight is. Bob Knight's one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time. There's things out there that people put about Coach that they don't particularly like. However, as far as teaching the game of basketball and teaching attitude, I learned a ton from him. So my philosophy in coaching, as it is in the classroom, is I wanted kids that could think. I always believed, basketball is a game in which mental is to physical as 4 is to 1. What are we trying to do in the classroom? We want to teach kids math, but more importantly, we want them to be able to think, right? So that's what I was doing in basketball. It fit right into my teaching mode in the classroom, teaching people how to think, how to solve problems. So I've been so blessed. I know that there's teachers out there, as you guys are, and there's teachers out there listening, how many great mentors we've all had. And every step of my career, I've had tremendous veteran teachers who helped me, tremendous veteran coaches that helped me. I had tremendous parents. It seems like heaven above has been so good to me. They've set so many people in my journey that have not looked at my weaknesses, but always looked at my strengths. They always believed in me. Yeah. They always spoke greatness into me. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Makes total sense.
I try to do as well.
And let me just say, hold on, let me pick up the name that you just dropped right there. Bob Knight. Yeah. Hello. That's amazing. Yes. That was a mentor of yours. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. And we've got some people already joining the real conversation. Hello, Angie. It's good to see you. And we got PSB Creative in there. But Donnie, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I wrote it down. So you came and talked to us in February 2022. And that was, if anyone wants to go back and listen to it, it's a great one. It's season 4, episode 55. And we're curious. So this year we're really, Pete says it's more teachers, more pep, more rally. So tell us what you've been up to. Has some things changed in your life? Like, bring us up to date.
Changed a ton. I'm going around the country now speaking on leadership. And what I do is I just tell stories. I tell stories about lessons I've learned. And of course, they want stories about Sudeikis. And I've got a bunch of those that I tell. And then I talk about lessons learned from over 30 years of coaching and teaching. And, it's just, I love to teach. I love being in the classroom. I never felt like I was a coach that led. I always felt like I was a leader that just happened to coach. And I feel like that in the classroom as well. That, my journey, I've just had so many great people that have mentored me, and I've learned so much. And again, we all learn through our own frustrations, right? Or through our own mistakes, and I think that the one thing that I try to emphasize in my classroom is you got to learn to be a goldfish. You've got to have a 10-second memory, especially in math. If you make a mistake, you're one step closer to solving the problem. And if you're scared to make mistakes, doers make mistakes. Let's just be honest. If you just just sit on the bench and never try to go out and do anything and not making mistakes, then you're not going to grow as a person. And I think one of the things that's happened a little bit in our society is we've taken away failure. We don't want kids to fail. And I think that's a huge mistake. I think that kids need to be allowed to fail, and then they need to be taught, I always talk about failing forward. Be where your feet are, can't do anything behind you. You can't, all you can do is do the next best thing right. It's like my mom. I have one rule in my classroom. You guys are going to laugh. It's called the Vi Campbell rule. It's my mom. My mom was the sweetest person that's ever been on this earth. Never said anything bad about anybody. But my rule in classroom is, number one is, if you don't have anything good to say, you don't say it. So it's about respect. And number two is there's no profanity. Those are my two rules. And if you think about the world we live in now, with social media and all things that are said, I don't believe in saying bad things about people. I mean, do people do bad things? Yeah, but I think there's a way to turn it into a positive instead of always being a negative. So those are my rules in the classroom. And then pretty simple. Classroom management, I've never really had any trouble with classroom management because I set out how I believe my class should be run. This is how we do things here. I'm very explicit, and I communicate a ton with the parents. If I have a student that's challenging in the classroom, then I work with the parents. I think I could put on my hand in 38 years of teaching how many referrals I filled out to the office.
Wow.
I handle the discipline if there's an issue. And I don't really have issues. I really don't. Maybe it's because I'm 6'6", 250 pounds. I don't know, but I'm a little intimidated.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm a fairly big guy, but I'll ramble. I know I'll ramble, and I just ask me questions, and I love this, and I know there's other teachers out there listening. I applaud you what you're doing. I just think it's remarkable. You need to every day is know that you're making a difference in somebody's life. I know at times, you're dealing with emails, you're dealing with grade standards, you're dealing with whatever issue that's in the classroom every day. You have to juggle a lot of plates. But just what I try to remember is why did you get into this? You got into it to help kids, to make a difference. That's why you did it. And when you keep your eye on the ball, I think things fall into place. Are there days that I come home and I'm frustrated? You bet. But
yeah,
I also try to remember where kids are coming from as well. I think since COVID, there's been a lot more challenges with students.
Yeah, there is.
There's less of a black and white area here. There's more of a gray area. I think, so I've tried to understand that, because the other day, one of the kids said to me, Coach Campbell, you're old school. And I said, no, young man, I'm right school.
Huh.
There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And we'll always do things the right way. And those are the things that I say in my classroom, little nibbits here or there that, kids don't need critics. They need examples.
For sure.
So I know, Aaron, you have a ton of questions, Aaron. I know I have a couple, but you go first.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, well, first of all, let me just make a side note. So the reason why people may call you like the real Ted Lasso or the whole relation with Ted Lasso, do you want it? I think it'd be best if it came from you explaining it, but already I'm hearing the catchphrases that you're using in the scenarios. And I'm like, yeah, this is one of my beloved characters. I can see the influence of that. So do you mind just sharing with everyone, just so we don't assume that they know that relationship or that connection?
Well, first, the show Ted Lasso, which Jason Sudeikis is the star of, he is a football soccer coach who's hired basically by the owner who wants the team to fail. So she's doing everything she can to undermine Jason, who's playing the character Ted Lasso. Well, I didn't know anything about the show at all. And again, Jason, his demeanor and leadership is kindness, treating people with respect, having a lesson in what he does, which is what I did. So I'm going into my classroom one morning. This has been about 2 years ago. And I go to put my key in the door, and one of my colleagues yells down the hall, "Hey, there's the famous basketball coach that inspired Jason Sudeikis' new show, Ted Lasso." And I knew absolutely nothing about it. So that night, my wife and I did some searching and found the show and started watching it. And we absolutely loved it. It was so endearing.
Yeah.
And as we're watching it, I didn't see it, but my wife points up to the TV and says, "Yeah, Donnie, that's you." So a lot of the sayings and things like that, he's got better writers than I can write. But the lessons that he's teaching are so similar that, and of course, Jason and I coached at Shawnee Mission West 30 years ago. So I always started practice with a John. In fact, this is the book. This is the book right here.
Show and tell.
That I would read. It's from John Wooden, the great UCLA basketball coach.
Nice.
And there would be some sort of character lesson in it. It's terrific. And I've also got a signed, Jason had this same sign up in the show. Did you see this? This was up in the show. John Wooden's Pyramid of Success.
I had it
signed by John Wooden because I listened to him at a clinic.
That's so cool.
So, and bottom line is when I was coaching, I started out with a philosophy of all I cared about was winning, period. I did everything I could to prepare my players to be the best team they could be. And when I did that, the first season as a head coach, you know what my record was? 3-18. And for you people who are out there, that's 3 wins and 18 losses.
A lot.
Not very good.
No.
So I felt like Ted Lasso did when he started coaching. He knew absolutely nothing about soccer because he was a football coach from Wichita State, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I felt the same way coaching basketball. So I started studying leadership. And I came across John Wooden. If you want to study anybody on leadership, he's terrific. And he was all about developing his players to be better people first, to develop leaders. So that's what I started focusing on, was developing my players to be better people first. How did I do this? Character lessons. An example, be the right example. Leadership, your example is not the main thing in leadership. It's the only thing. Your example, be kind to people, treat people with respect, be a good teammate, be committed to the team, hold yourself accountable. All those are traits that we were teaching. So the second year we ended up being 6-15. So we won 3 more games. The third season we were 11-10, had a winning record. And I left that school to go coach at Shawnee Mission West, where I coached Sudeikis. And 2 years later, that program that I left won a state championship. So I learned very quickly that if you develop your players to be leaders first or good people, then you'll end up having good basketball teams. At least they'll be the best they can be. Yeah. So that's a little bit of, and so then that's what I did with Sudeikis when I went to Shawnee Mission West. We would always have a leadership lesson. And one of the things in the last season, I don't want to give it all away, but he was studying Tex Winter.
Yes. That's
Tex Winter had the triangle offense.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
And in a way, he got that from me. I didn't run Tex Winter's offense. However, I ran motion offense, which was invented by Bob Knight.
Right.
Yeah.
Motion offense is freelance offense. You don't run plays. You teach kids how to play.
That's right.
Then we're going back to teaching kids how to think. See, That's what I started emphasizing. And what was really cool about running that offense, it's the greatest developer of teamwork of anything you can do. So what was Ted Lasso trying to do in the show by putting that triangle offense in? He was trying to teach kids to relax, to play the game, to think, to be good teammates, because you had to weather to get a good shot. That was our focus. And everything we did in our program was about developing our kids to be better people, to be great teammates. In fact, we had an award. I never gave out an MVP award. I always gave out an MVT award, most valuable teammate.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
You know, so what is Donnie? What like when you did that with those leadership classes? Was that something that you would do? I don't know. So you have a week, right? Preparation, or well, no, basketball you're prepping maybe shorter, right? So did you do standalone sessions where you just talk about leadership, or was it also on the court, or both, or how did you approach that?
Both.
Both.
We would lead it into something might happen in a game. The practice is the greatest classroom in the world. Mm-hmm. There are so many lessons taught. So let's say we're talking about trust. You know, trust, you do what you say you're going to do verbally, correct? That's huge. But to me, trust is your behavior every day. You want to be trusted. Right. You work hard every day. You're in the weight room. You're doing your job in the classroom. All those things develop trust, which create value for you on the team. And so we were teaching those in practice. You know, I can think about in a game, after a game, we lost a game one time and we got beat by a better team. They were just better. And after the game, I told our kids, I said, you know, guys, tonight we just got beat. The team was better than us. So I was honest with them. You know, they're not going to trust you unless you're honest. I didn't want to tell them, you know, we just had an off night, because you make an excuse for the kids. You don't want to make excuses. You want to be real. You want to be honest. Then I said this, however, I know the kind of character you have, that you're going to come back tomorrow and be a goldfish and work hard to get better for the next game. I know that about you. And then I would always put something up on the board relative to maybe the lesson that we were teaching that week. Maybe it was trust. Maybe it was honesty. Maybe it was being a good teammate, whatever it might be. My favorite one of all time, and I would have this up in the classroom with my belief posters, is you don't have to win a championship to be a champion.
Good.
That is kids need to know that. And then the second thing that would happen, when you ever got beat, you could always hear the visiting locker rooms team cheering and raising heck because they won, right? And I always told my kids, and they knew I believed it. I said, I would still rather be in this locker room with you than over there. They needed to know that I believed in them, that I still cared for them, right? Winning's important, but to me, succeeding is more important. That's what my philosophy is. And I didn't know that when I first started. It took getting your tail beat 3 and 18 to realize that I had to change. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Totally. No, you did. You did. That's spot on. Like that. It's because it's tough, right? Because you have a lot going on. You have obviously preparation for the game, but to weave in all those life lessons, that's what good coaches do. That's what great coaches do, like yourself. And that's phenomenal to hear. And that can happen in the classroom, right? I mean, that's not something that just has to happen on the field or the court or those spaces, but that's good. It's all good.
I think too is kids need to know, I think, and I don't have a lot of strengths, but one of the strengths I think you feel is I'm authentic. Yes. I'm a straight shooter.
Yes.
You know, what you see is what you get, you know, and that can be when you're 6'6" and 250 pounds and you're confident in what you do, you can intimidate people. So I've had to learn over the years that you got to be it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes.
You know, what'll get you more in trouble in the classroom, and more so now than anywhere, is what you say. Because you need to remember, you're being recorded. You might not think you're being recorded, you're being recorded. So you and that takes away a little bit of your authenticity. Does that make sense? Because you're scared to really be yourself at times. Right. Me, I'm still the same person. I just say it a little different.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only advice that I would give. If I had myself in the classroom 30 years ago, that's what I would tell me. You know, Donnie, you need to learn to do a better job of maybe listening better, which all of us need to listen better. God gave us 2 of these and only 1 of these, right? And we need to watch what we say, because it really influences kids. And it can, and I'm sure over the years I've said things that I shouldn't have said, and I didn't mean to say them. I didn't mean to, it wasn't, but kids take things, you know, differently sometimes, you know, kids, they just, so I think that's one thing I've learned. I still give lessons, but I'm a little bit, I say things different in the classroom than I used to.
Yeah. And I think what you're also expressing, and we've talked about it here a lot with guests too, is things don't have to be perfect. Even for us as educators, no matter what your role is, or as a coach, even being that you're talking about being a role model, I think in many ways, having us be the role model as the adults, but also teaching the students how to become role models for each other and even to us and as future citizens. So I would say that in what you're talking about and in your lessons, it's like, let's just make sure. And I think, Marshall, I hope I'm saying your name right. I think that's what you're saying as well, is, you know, perfection isn't the end goal, right? It's that you're taking a risk, you're trying, you're being true to yourself, you're being authentic. And by the way, even me as an educator, I sometimes make mistakes, but I tried, and I'm going to share with you my story about how I tried. And hey, this just didn't work. Yep. You know, like you said, Donnie, with that team, that basketball team, this team was just better than us, right? You just were very honest and truthful.
You said it very articulate, much more articulately than I did. How, you know, and the thing that I think too is the one thing that's different about the gym than the classroom is, like with math. I want math to be fun. For some kids, math's not fun. It's just, but I want them to at least like being in my class and still respect and like me.
Yeah.
And in the gym though, that's the perfect classroom, because you have 18 kids who really want to be there.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge responsibility.
It really is. And it makes me think, Pete, you hop in, because I'm thinking about you, similarity. So I played sports all my life. Right. Donnie, I was a coach. I coached soccer, even coached lacrosse. I did volleyball for a couple of years. But I would imagine, Pete, the things that you do, whether it's music or supporting the performing arts after school, would you relate that to similar type of space?
Yep. I click with every word he's saying. I'm just soaking it in, and I'm writing note after note after note. It's so inspiring. Wow. You know, it's I come from a family of athletes and coaches and all, and I've taken that mentality, that attitude, that approach to the performing arts activities I do. And really, it doesn't matter. It's whatever subject, whatever that vehicle is, this is the attitude to have. This is the approach, the authenticity, the passion, the honesty, the embracing of disappointment. Holy cow, parents out there, there's such value in that. What is this feeling I'm feeling? I'm about to break down. Well, you didn't get your way, or you didn't win. There's value in that, you know? So I love the quote. I love that winning is great, but succeeding is better. That's brilliant. So yeah, great stuff.
And none of this stuff I'm bringing to you, I made up. I'm a Xerox machine. I do a lot of reading on leisure. And when I get up in the morning, I get up pretty early. I'm not a big internet person, but I have some different leadership things that are very positive. I want to go to school on a positive note.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I go in there and the kids, I always tell the kids, I'm going to bring juice every day. And what I mean is I'm going to be fired up. And some of them will say, uh-oh, he had 10 cups of coffee this morning. He's really going now. And I said, no, I only had 8. What do you mean? Oh, kids are, I just get a kick out of them. Sometimes I just giggle at some of the things that's said and done. And I tell the kids, I don't take myself too serious. I told the kids the other day, I said, you have to be able to laugh at yourself. If you can't laugh at yourself at times, I think there's a problem there. I said, I told the kids, I said, I laugh every morning. I wake up and look in the mirror. I mean, heck, and the kids are, and oh yeah, okay, they get it. I just have fun with my kids. I don't take myself too serious but everything you have to embrace adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Doers make mistakes. All those things are things that Pete, you and I talk about. And I'll tell you a little quick story about when I lived in a small town, and 2 doors down from me was our music teacher. Now I was I was an all-state football player, all-state basketball player. I was on 2 state championship track teams. I played summer baseball. Sports was my life. But he got me to come out for choir. How, I don't know. I think my parents finagled him. I ended up being the lead in 2 plays. It was one of the best things that I could have ever done. So like when I coached, I always tried to work it. I always worked with the performing arts. I would put the performing arts in our calendar because I wanted kids doing that too. Mm-hmm. Because I knew they're not all going to be professional basketball players. Let's just be realistic here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But those things that they learn from doing something out of the normal for some of them,
right?
I think we've gotten away from that. Kids are specializing now.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I totally disagree with. But the horse is out of the barn. That's not going to change.
Right.
When I coached, I had kids that were doing multiple sports during my season.
Right.
And they looked wore out. And we live in a different age now. So you have to change a little bit. And
I'm going to piggyback on that. I wouldn't want them all to become professional musicians or, working in showbiz. I don't want that either. It's the learning of the life skills through that experience, mm-hmm. through that team growth, through that, holy cow, something just went wrong. What do we do? Mm-hmm. Let's buckle up and work together. It's the same on a stage or on a field. So that's beautiful.
That's great. You know what, Fred, I think this might be, and I've got a story while you're kind of transitioning, but I put together, we've been playing some games, Donnie, kind of, making it a little more fun, a lot more interactive. We've got some great comments coming in and we're reading those. And so play along with us. We're going to play a scenario game. So I created some scenarios that are probably going to look very familiar. And I thought it'd be nice, since we've got Coach Donnie here with us, to kind of talk about how we would handle the scenario. Again, they're good, bad, and ugly. They're not all bad. Don't worry. My story, as he's setting it up, though, real quickly, is this is so amazing that we're talking about this and not just, basically putting all your eggs in one basket. I was listening to a conversation today with John McEnroe, and he's saying the same thing. In fact, he, I believe, has a tennis academy where he encourages his players. It used to be you'd go very young and you go and it was all in on tennis. And he's doing the same thing, guys, where he's encouraging his attendees of the tennis academy to play other sports and do other things.
Oh, wow.
Because again, you may not become, it's a 1 in a million shot to become like Alcaraz, right? So what are some other things maybe you can lean on or maybe even learn from by doing other things other than just playing tennis? So really, really cool to hear that message more than once today.
Gotta share that podcast, Aaron. I'd like to hear that. Yeah.
It was Smart List. So if you guys listen to Smart List.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't listened to a while. I'll queue it back up.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you want to run this one, Aaron?
So really simple. I'll read the scenario out loud and anyone can answer when they're ready, or you can, last time we just had kind of like put a hand up. But then we're going to share our strategy. How would you handle, hey, Amanda, how would you handle the scenario that I'm giving? All right. You ready?
We are ready.
This is nicely. The first one, Donnie, you kind of hinted at this already a little bit. So
right, here we go.
Okay. In the Apple TV series we've been talking about, Ted Lasso, Coach Lasso hangs a sign with the word "believe" in the locker room for all the players and staff to see. So my question to you all is, what word, and please in the chat answer if you're joining the conversation live or if you're listening to the recording, think of it in your head and come share it with us on Facebook. What word would you have in your locker room or classroom and why?
Wow. That's pretty good.
Thanks. So in all fairness, this one since I knew this one was coming and it was the first one, I was like, okay, I'm going to give them a chance to warm up. So do you want me to tell you what I came up with to give you some time? Okay.
Go.
So it is hard because there were so many words, or then I kind of got into phrases and I was like, no, the question is a word because I think that's powerful. So I would choose to hang the word, I think this year, determination.
Yes, very good.
And the reason why I picked that word is because I feel like it's just a reminder for people to just think about how determined are you for whatever it is that you're trying to reach.
Very good.
Right. Or if you feel like you're not able to do right now what you want to do, and maybe that's getting an A in math, right? If that's your goal and you're just not there yet, that's okay. You can get there. But how determined are you to get there? And let me help you to get there. So determination's my word.
Nice. So we got Amanda chiming in there. Amanda's going with dream. I like that one, Amanda. That's cool because our imaginations are so powerful and the key to unlocking possibilities.
Good one.
We got another one. Well, we got I would say hopeful. I believe this is your secret.
That is a soon to be 13-year-old boy downstairs.
Woohoo!
Nice. Love having him in here. I would say hopeful because if you don't believe in yourself and feel hope, you won't get anywhere. Nice.
That's
powerful.
awesome.
I was going to go with persist. So that's really similar to what you just said, Aaron. So yeah, I think we're in the same brand. That's good though.
I like it.
Peter,
Donnie, no pressure.
Those are all excellent. I still like the word believe. I just do. I think, you have to believe in yourself. I also believe in, that goes along with that. You could have belief, but then you have to have a plan too.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it ends up just being a dream. So, but I like the word belief because I want them to know that I believe in them and that they should believe in themselves.
That's good.
Great.
Pete, have you thought of one?
You're going to think it's a cop-out. It's my word, create.
Create.
That's it. That's my word for everything. Problem solving, believing in yourself, getting stronger, growing.
Very cool.
It fits. And I think that's part of it too. I just realized is that, create fits you, Pete. It's not a cop-out. Like you live and breathe that. And I think that's the point is if you're going to put that word up on your wall, whether it's in your classroom, your office, your locker room, you better have a true connection to it because people are going to ask you why it's up there. And you also have to be able to try to exude whatever that word is that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and going back to what you were saying before, Donnie, about, doers make mistakes, right? Or make mistakes. Or making mistakes makes you a doer. All back and forth and that. I was having the same conversation today with my students, just reminding them that, you're going to fail, you're going to fall. You got to, and what's important is you get back up and move forward again. And that goes back to your message that you've been sharing all across the country here recently. I'm sure it's like, you got to move forward. You got to blast through this stuff. Don't just lay there like the turtle on the back, you can't get up, that type of thing.
Well, how do you handle a mistake? You should handle a mistake first by admitting it. Okay. And then you need to make sure that you, I'm trying to think of the other word now, but you need to admit it. You need to learn from it and you need to forget it.
Right.
And the other word I'm trying to come to, I've said this thing 100 times. I got it from Dean Smith. You admit it. I got to think it'll come to me later, but admit it, learn from it, then forget it. I'm trying to think of there's a second word in there when it's not only, recognize your mistake, admit your mistake, but recognize your mistake. Mm-hmm. How many people in the world we deal with now that never make a mistake or never admit they make a mistake? Right. It's like in basketball, I was really huge on basketball is a game of change. Everybody talks about offense and talks about defense. Well, really the most important part of basketball is what happens between going from offense to defense and defense to offense because it's so quick. You don't have time to pout because you threw the ball to the other team. You have to get back and play defense.
Yeah.
It goes back to that, when you make a mistake, don't make two mistakes by pouting and moping. get your tail back, get back on defense, don't make 2 mistakes. And I just think that is so important with kids. And my basketball players, I was huge on that. That you're going to make mistakes, but don't make 2 mistakes in a row by not. I like my 3 sets my 2 sets of 3 I got from John Wooden too. Don't lie, don't cheat, and don't steal. And the other sets of 3 is don't make excuses, don't blame others, and don't guys, I must be brain dead tonight because I normally can rattle these things off right and left.
That's
you have the teacher's brain right now.
Your coffee juice is running out.
I say them, but I always, it just comes to me when I'm speaking. Like I'll be talking about maybe accountability, and a story will come up from 30 years ago. Yeah. So my keynote changes based on how my mind works, but he's just teaching the values that I don't know if I've ever said this too. Is another person that was a really great influence on me was Don Meyer. Don Meyer was a great college coach that no one ever heard of. One of the greatest teachers of all time. He still has a website. You can go donmeyer.com, and he still has handouts for parents, for coaches, for teachers, for players. He was a giver. He was a servant, and I learned so much from him. And I just think that his deal was he was very much along with the John Wooden mold, teaching kids to be better people, teach values. And what I'm going to is there's an old story about Warren Buffett, and I tell the kids, you guys know who Warren Buffett is, right? And they all look at me. Yeah, the guy who wrote Margaritaville. I said, no, that's Jimmy Buffett. And I said, Warren Buffett is one of the richest men in the world, one of the most successful business people that's ever been on this earth. And I said, he gets to hire the best of the best kids. And I said, he looks for 3 things. Okay. Number 1, do you work hard? That's pretty simple, right? Are you a hard worker? Number 2 is, are you smart? Can you think on your feet? And number 3 is character. If you don't have the last one, the first 2 don't matter.
That's
it goes
great.
back to values.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a debate out there in the classroom. And I listened to one thing about, values shouldn't be taught in the classroom. The only thing that should be taught in the classroom is your subject matter. That's a debate out there, I'm sure, because, people's value systems might be different than what yours is, so, but I still talk about trust and honesty and compassion and hard work and being a good teammate and doing the right thing. And I still think those are values that all teachers, they don't maybe have to say it, but they do it by their example. And I'll tell you another thing too that teachers need to be able to do is admit when they make a mistake.
Yep.
And I've made a lot of them. I had a student I said something in the classroom and it was supposed to be a positive, but it came out a little negative. So the next day I pulled him outside and I said, hey, I want to apologize for what I said. He said, Coach, you didn't say anything wrong. I said, no, I did. I am so proud of you. I know you're working all these hours and you come to class and you stay awake and you work hard and you're good at what you do. I said, if you were my son, I'd be proud of you. I'm proud of you as my student. Since I did that with that student, the kid just loves my class. We made that connection. And he also knows that now I'm sending a message. You can make mistakes too. If you admit them, right? Recognize your mistake, admit your mistake, learn from your mistake, and then move on. And I think we have to, you talk about being willing to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Just be willing to apologize and hold yourself accountable and then move on.
That's right. Well, should we do another scenario?
I'm sorry.
No, you're great.
No.
The reason why I was thinking that, Donnie, is because you just kind of, in my mind, because I know what the next scenario is, kind of gave a solution for the next scenario. So let's look at it and see if we can pull some of the things that Donnie just shared with us as a technique. All right, you coach a school team or organization, and one of your strongest players or members, I was thinking of you, Pete, during this, want to ensure I included music, has recently been unusually closed off and showing up late to practice. How do you handle it?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to meet with him and talk with him and say, hey, what's going on here, bud? Why are you don't seem to be as in tune to what we're doing. You're coming late to practice. We have a rule. You can't be late to practice. When you're late to practice, you're basically saying your time's more important than your team's, and we can't have that. And then find out there's probably something inherent going on at home or whatever. So you work with them. One of the stories I tell in my keynote, I was so fortunate to coach with one of the best head coaches you could ever be mentored by. He was not only a great coach, he was a tremendous math teacher, and he was one of the best people I've ever been around in my life. And one night we're playing a game, and the opposing coach was just yelling and screaming at the officials. I'm sure you've seen coaches that get on the officials and this and that. And I never was really big on that because I learned at a young age I couldn't yell and scream at the officials and coach my team. I wasn't a good enough coach to do that. So I just learned to keep my mouth shut. But the other coach was yelling and screaming, and I was a JV coach, and coach, we ended up losing the game. And I felt like that coach intimidated the officials and got calls, which hurt our team. Well, that night when we're driving home on the bus, I said, Coach, can I ask you something? He said, sure. I said, Coach, that was not right tonight. That coach intimidated the officials, and really, I thought it was the difference in the game. And he looked at me, and I was a 23-year-old, green as green could be, assistant coach who didn't know anything. And he said to me, Donnie, if I have to act like a horse is behind to win games, it's maybe time for me to get out of it. Mm. And he also said this. My mentor had values and standards about how you treat people. That example that he set for me about how he treats officials, how he treats his players, how he treats assistants, how he treats everybody made such an impact on my life. He was the perfect coach, mentor for me out of college.
It makes me wonder if that's why that's your number one rule, which is if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this guy, I know one of the things that I always try to do is when you're a coach sometimes and you teach a class like math, there's always that perception out there that you're a coach first and a teacher second. Mm-hmm. This guy he was a phenomenal math teacher, and I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to be good in the classroom, and I wanted to be good in the gym. And he was that example that he set for me. And of course, I enjoyed the classroom too. But I mean, coaching, being a head coach now is extremely difficult, especially if you're teaching a class like math or chemistry or history, or I mean, you got to be on. There's no days off. You don't put a video in and watch it, so you can watch film the night you lose. You're teaching. And I just understand, and it's more difficult now because of social media. It's more difficult now because parents at times, let's just be honest, have overstepped their bounds. Correct? They don't see what's really important. And I'm sure there's teachers out there right now and coaches listening to me said, yeah, I know what you're talking about. There are so many young coaches getting out of coaching because of parents.
Yeah.
And
even referees, right? Referees and
you can't get referees now because we had 3 officials when I coached in Kansas. I'm retired and I live in Missouri now. They can't get 3 officials because officials are just tired of how they're treated. And this could be a forum right here, sitting down with officials, administrators, and coaches and getting this figured out, because I've been to games and there's things that go on in the stands that should never go on. That's another discussion.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was so important to me as a head coach to sample for everybody in the stands to be respectful. Because if everybody's going to see me, I'm 6'6". They're going to see me. If I'm up, officials are going to know if I'm getting on them. So I I had to be the kind of example that I wanted my parents. And I think it really helped my players too. Because coaches that get on are constantly on the officials, then it's always giving your players an excuse. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I tell our players, I said, you know, I'm not going to coach a perfect game. The officials aren't going to officiate a perfect game. You're not going to play a perfect game. All we can do is the next thing right.
Yeah.
And then I used to do this in my parent meeting. This is a great thing for any coach or any person. I gave out cards. And on these cards, it had 4 things: play, coach, officiate, parent. They were supposed to check that and give it to me. And then I'd look at it. And then I'd go, okay, here are the responsibilities for me as a coach. This is the responsibilities as an official. You know, those are things that I went over with. And it was a very, very simple way to do things, but it set things in perspective of what I think is important. And the time and place to meet with a coach. You know, I always tell parents, I will not talk with you after a game, period.
Yeah.
Because my emotions are high, your emotions are high. Give it 24 hours, and then I will sit down and talk with you, and your son will be there.
Okay.
And when I would sit down with them, they knew that I was 3 things I wasn't going to talk about: playing time, somebody else's kid, and philosophy. Many times, the only thing I was going to talk to them about was what they need to do to get better.
Yeah.
Now, many times when you meet with a parent, they're going to go around the mountain. They want to talk about playing time. And I understand that. But I think young coaches need to make sure, I think the key word is communication. You got to over communicate.
Yeah.
And if you don't do a good job in your organization, it probably starts with communication. If there's no trust there, I guarantee you the communication has not been very good. That was one of my strengths. I over communicated.
Yeah. I totally believe in that too, whether it's through the classroom, educational leadership of a building, of the district, all of that. I want to highlight real quick, Marshall, because I want to go to one more scenario for us tonight, a fun one. She said also, you know, it's important to remind our students and our players that, you know, tomorrow's a new day, new start, that we have a clean slate with them, regardless of what just happened today. Right. I think that's a really good thing to highlight.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, you said something too, Diana, that I don't think I've coached a lot of biddy ball, not at your level. So I've coached a lot of parent issues, get it. But you pointed out something with the sport in general, basketball, the transition. And I don't think I ever really looked at it that way. Because of course, you know, baseball, you know, you're on and off the diamond, but like football, obviously you have a defensive and an offensive squad. So they're just doing their thing. They're on and off the field. But the basketball, that is a quick transition. And yeah, you can't be, you know, slinking along saying, oh, I'm you know, I should have been here. I should have made this play or what. And you're right. It is a quick rapid react. I never thought of it that way. That's interesting in itself.
One of the things that I did in practice is I wanted practice hard. And you're saying, oh, he must have ran those kids to death. I didn't run my kids to run them. I wanted them to be hard mentally. I wanted them to have to think. So I would set up different situations in practice, 5-on-4, 6-on-4, 4-on-3, in which it was disadvantage drills. So say there were 5 offensive players versus 4 defenders. That created, it was hard on those defenders, and it created confidence because if 4 could guard 5, then 5 could guard 5 in a game. It also forced the kids to have to communicate. And I tell these kids this all the time, a person who can't see, a blind person should be able to walk in our gym and in a half an hour tell me what we emphasize. What is our emphasis in our program?
That's good.
That's great.
And that is so all of us can walk into a classroom too. And you can tell if that person can teach or not. It doesn't take very long. And you could bring 100 great coaches into a classroom, and they all do it differently. That doesn't mean that their way's better than yours. Just like that's what's cool about teaching. Everybody has their own way of doing things. And that's what I love about it. I teach different than this person, but I take things from somebody I watch. I really like that, and I'll use it in my classroom. But I think young coaches need to have a philosophy too.
Yeah.
What are they about? Ours was about creating better people first. So every decision we made was based on that. So what I'm saying, in practice, we made it hard mentally. Again, it goes back to getting kids to think, to communicate, to work together. And then the most important lesson there, and Pete, you brought this up, is it created adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And we were teaching our kids to embrace it, because more importantly, they're going to get out in the real world. Right. We're trying to teach them that when things get tough, to embrace it and fight through it. Right. That's what we were really teaching our kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's really good advice.
Move one more, Aaron?
Yeah, should we do have time to do one more?
Yeah.
Donnie, sure. Are you good for one more?
Yeah.
Okay. This one's a quick one. Go to the next one, Fred. I want to do this one because I just think that this would be fun. All right. So your students have been working hard and everyone could use a more laid back day. You decide to play some music in the background while students collaborate on an assignment, or it can be in the gym. Maybe they're warming up or out on the pitch. They're kicking the ball around. What music do you have playing?
I had some kids, you're going to laugh. I had some kids the other day that had their headphones in and they weren't listening to me. And I said to them, I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. I have a rule. They're supposed to put their electronic devices when I'm lecturing. And a couple of them didn't do it. And they know that that's fine. If you're going to do that, then you made a choice. Then I'm not going to reteach it to you. You're going to have to go back and watch the video, as long as they're not bothering anybody else. But then one day I told one of them, I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get all my country music playing, and we're going to make you listen to that country music the whole time while I'm teaching. And he goes, well, what kind of country music? I said, Waylon Jennings and Hank Williams. And they all like, who is this? It's not Luke Bryan or anybody like that. But I would ask them what they would like to listen to, as long as there's no profanity in it.
Right.
I don't want any profanity in it. I don't want anything that's political. I just want good music that's inspiring, and those kids can bring it out. And I don't do a lot of that. I do have some days where it's more laid back, and I get a sense maybe the kids didn't do well on a test, so I'm gonna work on the test in class and help them. So play classical music, 80s pop during Bill days, Mariah Carey.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm curious why Mariah Carey on the first day after Halloween.
I think she's in Christmas mode already.
Oh, yes. Okay, I got
I got to jump
awesome.
in. Marshall was a co-team member, co-teacher with me for years and years and years. One of the greatest educators I've ever known. She's amazing.
We got to get her on the show.
Yeah, she's amazing, and we have lots of great stories. So yes,
and she's STEM too. So that's I was picking up on that. Yep. It's good to meet you there, Michelle. That's nice.
So Donnie, I like having the kids do it. You definitely have to ensure that that the relationship's been built so that they don't play the things that are really not appropriate. I always had a Bluetooth speaker in my classroom, and a kid would get to be a DJ for the day. And sometimes that was a really neat opportunity to have the one student in that particular class that tends to not be able to get to do certain things, and because they've been doing so great, or you just know it's their opportunity to shine, to play the music for the class that day, they love that. But I brought in my record player during poetry lessons, and we'd usually listen to like Billie Holiday, maybe a little Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra. And then if it was just let's just get silly for a minute, a little bit of icebreaker, it had to be 80s hip hop, not pop, but I went hip hop. So yeah, how about you, Fred?
I just did this today. So all right. So I do two ways. I do have a lot of work sessions in my lab, and I have done a spin the wheel. It's a website. You go out there and you could put in all the little chips on the wheel. You could put the category or the genre of music. And so we do a random one. And then when they hit the category, I'll say, all right, pick the song, and then I'll pick it. But this past week, little plug to Night Ranger. Night Ranger did I think it's a 40th anniversary with the Children's Youth Orchestra in Cleveland, I think.
Cool.
And they re-released a new album. So today we were just doing something in class, and I had it up on the screen, and we were playing that. So a little harder edge, maybe not so much of a good thinking type music, but they were talking and working amongst themselves. So it kind of fit. It worked. It worked.
Nice. How about you, Pete? It's like all the time in there.
I mean, that's my world. That's me all the time. I'll go in a different direction. If we're gonna blow off some steam and just make some music together for the sake of music together, there's a YouTube teacher I think the world of, Swick's Music Classroom out in Las Vegas, and he does these unbelievable videos with contemporary hip hop, rock, pop, country, all sorts of great stuff. But you play them on these instruments called boomwhackers, and I let the kids pick out their song, and we'll do it on boomwhackers. Check out Swick's Music Classroom on YouTube. Great stuff. He just made 10 million hits, and it's really good quality stuff, and the kids love it. So I let them pick their song, and we jam, and it's a great time. And they like it so much, we take the song that they like, they vote as a class, and we do it as a concert later this year. Each class does their own song. All the rest of the kids sing while the other kids jam out on these songs. And it's legit. It's hard, but it's good stuff. So check it out.
That's awesome. Good answer. We've given lots of great resources, which we always like to do, between books and YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff.
Link?
Yes, sir. Of course.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Great. There you go.
You can teach an old dog new tricks now. Let me tell you.
Yeah, there you go.
Every day we learn something. Well, Donnie, it's getting close to an hour. We try to be respectful of everyone's time, especially at night as educators. We are very sleepy, so staying up late is difficult. I want to make sure, though, that anyone who wants to connect with you, you said that you are a keynote speaker and you're traveling around and doing that. How can they find you?
You go to upsidespeakers.com, and I have a speaking manager who is unbelievable. She believes in me. Yeah. She loves my message. She's done so much to help me to skyrocket this. And it's, again, I'm just so blessed to have so many people that overlook my weaknesses and see things that they feel that I can make an impact with people. And I feel like I'm loving it. I go out and I speak and I see these young leaders. We're in good hands. I mean, when I'm retired, there's young people like you guys. I mean, there's so much positivity and people wanting to get better. And I just feel blessed that I get to maybe make an impact doing that. I just feel very lucky.
That is great. And Pete, how about where people can find us?
Our website, teacherpeprally.com. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then this will eventually be a podcast that you could listen to as well next week. And it's on any of your favorite podcast players. We're there.
Yeah. And if you can, make sure, if you're not subscribed already to the YouTube channel or following us on Facebook, you do that so we can continue the conversation. And we're always looking for feedback. So make sure you leave a review. And Donnie, I just want to say, as always, it's a pleasure. I was so excited about tonight because, your enthusiasm and your words of wisdom and just your openness to kind of hang out and talk about leadership and education is always so wonderful. So thank you for coming. It's without a doubt an open invitation to you anytime, always, that you want to stop by the Teachers Pep Rally.
Awesome. And you guys, thank you. The impact you're making with so many people out there. Keep doing what you're doing and always remember to believe.
Thanks, Donnie. Good night.
Good night.
You bet. Good night.